Now look, I'm supposed to be on the Family Feud. I ain't supposed to be in here introducing no reaction video channel. Soldiers swimming with sharks. And we all know that's some white people shit.
Alright guys, hey, back for another reactivation video.
Today, why Navy sailors stopped jumping off aircraft carrier flight decks.
I think this is, what's the name of this channel?
Not What You Think.
Not What You Think, that's right.
Not What You Think.
Let's get right into this and see what they're talking about.
When you jump off an aircraft carrier into the open water, you have to consider that you're in a whole new food chain.
It looks
You
fun.
ain't at the top.
Oh.
But these swimmers realize this. That's why there is a gunner on top of the ship, constantly watching out for sharks.
Just one?
And if anything, the idea is simple. Aim at the person swimming closest to the shark. That should give enough time for everyone else to get out of the water. But jokes aside, shooting at a shark in the water would be a completely ineffective tactic at neutralizing the shark.
Yeah, you're not going to kill it.
At best, it can scare a unicorn. And at worst, the bullet may skip off the surface rather than penetrate the water and injure nearby swimmers. After all, sharks are cautious creatures, and before attacking, they tend to circle around
Swimming
and
around
inspect
the
their
ladder.
prey for an extended period of time. That's why having a dedicated lookout is actually a great idea, but shooting at the shark is not. Bullets shot into the water either fragment within a few feet or come to a full stop in less than 6 feet or so.
Yeah.
That's why when you shoot bullets at the water, it looks more like a small explosion, as bullets disintegrate into pieces.
Wow.
In order for the bullets to not rupture, they would have to have a different shape, like needles. And that's exactly how...
Hey, look, before we even get to bullets fragmentizing and fragmentating or whatever it was that he claimed, let's get back right to the shark threat right off the bat. Before we even get to what happens with the bullets, let's talk about why the hell we're in the water swimming around sharks. Did you see how close they were to those groups of people?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
how underwater bullets look like. The hydrodynamics is very different from shooting bullets in the atmosphere. Mythbusters found that a 50 caliber bullet would travel only 1 foot into the water before it loses its lethality. According to the Mythbusters, bullets shot from smaller handguns can actually travel further, about 6 feet.
Wow.
Therefore, even if you hit a shark, you would likely piss it off even more, which would cause the shark to reflexively attack a swimmer.
Anything that's
To be fair to the shark, it doesn't know that it was shot by a gunman from the surface and not the nearby swimmer. But swim calls are only one of the big-ticket fun activities for Navy sailors on warships, with the others including steel beach parties and the occasional beer.
I'd be hitting
But the
golf
true
balls.
celebration involves shooting guns.
Wow.
All right, the problem with hitting golf balls is they go into the ocean and sometimes they get stuck in dolphin or whale holes, things like that. That'd be my concern.
They get stuck in whale holes. Yeah.
Yeah, in their air hole, you know, and they're supposed to breathe out that hole.
Into the sky.
Hole in one.
Swim calls serve as a great morale-boosting activity for the sailors, and they make for amazing stories down the road, but they look quite different from the 1940s.
She's cute for a seaman.
Back during the good old days, you know,
seaman.
before the invention of safety, sailors were allowed to jump from anywhere, like the flight deck of an aircraft carrier which sits 60 feet high above the water. Or even sailors climbing the anchor chain and then diving down. Mind you, it looks like these divers knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
There is even a story about how one Olympic swimmer was allowed to dive from the top of the island.
Wow.
But today, the Navy is much more risk-averse than it was in the past. Now, jumping from 60 feet above the water cannot kill you. But if you land wrongly, it definitely can.
It sure can.
Get ready for sprains and potential drownings.
Yep.
But don't worry, there's always a rescue boat nearby. Falling on the water wrong can be worse than falling on concrete. Yes, they both can break bones, but there is no risk of drowning in concrete.
Depends on how
Today,
thick the
sailors
concrete
jump
is.
off a lowered
Depends on
elevator
how
from the
soft.
hangar bay.
How
That's about 30 feet.
Or how knocked out you are.
But it's still too high for many. And if you're not afraid of heights, then besides sharks, there is venomous jellyfish and sea snakes to worry about. The safest way to swim, if you're stationed on a ship that has a well deck, is to fill up the well deck with water and have an Olympic-sized swimming pool for the crew.
There you go.
That would be fun.
I'm down with that.
It's true that the culture of safety has taken some of the fun away from many Navy traditions, but you have to consider the upside too. If something were to go terribly wrong during a swim call, the commanding officer would be held liable, and swim calls could very well go the way of shellback and tailhook parties into the history books.
Huh.
Swim calls happen more often on aircraft carriers than any other naval vessel. Can you guess the vessel with the least frequent swim calls? Hint, it's not a ship.
Submarine.
It's the submarines.
Sure.
I must say, nothing beats using a multi-billion-dollar submarine as a jump pad. But submarine personnel do not pack swimsuits when they go on deployment. According to one submariner, he had 3 swim calls during his 10 years of service. So that's once every 3 and a bit years.
Wow.
But it used to be much more.
It's amazing how little help that huge nuclear battleship would give you when a little shark pulled up on your ass and takes your right leg off at the hip.
Frequent back in the day, because submarines would spend much more time on the surface, which meant more swim calls.
Huh.
But they were more like shower breaks. In fact, as you can see, there is a shower, and there are more sailors bathing than swimming.
That makes sense.
But then, yet again, as part of Navy's standard operating procedures, someone is assigned to overwatch duty, who usually watches from the sail for any sharks in the area. But sharks were not their biggest worry.
I almost shot my mouth
It was
off
the dummies who thought they could swim, but found out that they couldn't in the open ocean. Believe it or not, being able to swim is not a prerequisite for joining the US Navy. Although basic survival is later taught during the boot camp, which mainly consists of bobbing around.
Not swimming, water survival.
Wait,
from time to time,
why
submariners
would you join the Navy if you didn't know how to swim? What would possess a person to go, hey, the Navy, they're always on the water. I don't know how to swim, but that sounds like a great idea.
Said one of the first events that you go into in training is water survival. He didn't say learning how to swim. No. He said water survival.
Russian Navy also enjoy a swim call in the middle of the Arctic Ocean.
Bear Club.
But it's more like a dip than anything else, for obvious reasons. And yes, there are sharks in the Arctic waters as well, including the Greenland shark, which can live over 500 years. And they spend most of that time looking for a mate. I guess there's plenty of fish, but not a lot of sharks.
What's that taste like?
When you live with moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis, your day can be full of...
There's also this guy, the polar bear.
Oh,
always hungry. But don't worry, because between 1960 and 2009, there were only 47 polar bear attacks on people.
Well, that's
another common pastime activity on naval ships was drinking. Believe it or not, during the good old days, sailors in the navies around the world would drink daily.
No.
For example, in the 17th century, Royal Navy sailors received a gallon of beer each day.
Wow.
It seemed like a lot, but the alcohol content was less than 1% more often than not. Beer was eventually replaced by what became known as a rum ration.
All day and drinking
every day, between 11 a.m. and noon, sailors would receive a tot, which was about 3 shots of rum. Petty officers received the rum neat. Petty officers received the rum neat.
That's the way.
While lower deck sailors had the rum diluted with 2 parts of water to make about half a pint. But as you know, good things don't last forever. After 239 years, on July 31st, 1970, the rum ration was abolished by the Royal Navy, as the leftovers were tossed over the side one last time.
What?
They were all
the reason that the rum ran dry was that it was deemed not appropriate to the demands of a modern instant response Navy.
I get it.
The sailors, of course, didn't agree with Royal Navy's decision.
I know they didn't.
The Navy compromised by allowing sailors to buy 3 small cans of beer per day, and petty officers will be able to buy 1/8 of a pint of spirits per day,
supply it anymore, but
not
they went
rum.
back to the rules and just let them start buying it.
Similarly, the Royal Canadian Navy abolished the rum ration in 1972. And yet, they still allow the sale of beer on the warships from vending machines with a daily limit of 2.
No, they probably weren't eating prime
But you know how it only takes a few to ruin it for everyone?
Cold beer machine.
Well, back in 2014, a few sailors got intoxicated
There you
and
go.
misbehaved while commissioned on HMCS Whitehorse, which forced the warship to be recalled from an international exercise. As a result, the Royal Canadian Navy banned drinking.
Alright guys, we're going to cut it short there. I don't want to burn this guy's whole video up. He's going into so much other stuff than the sailors.
Hey, it was pretty good though.
Not jumping off the side of the aircraft carrier. That's pretty crazy stuff right there, dude.
Sharks. And, you know, I hadn't thought about that. But, of course, it makes sense. It's just something that I never had even stopped to think about. And why would I? Because I was
in order to be able to jump off a ship and swim with sharks, you need to also be aware that there are splattering lead piles being shot all over the water around you.
You should be aware of your ability to swim or not to swim. And why would you think that,
you mean
I know
joining
how to
the
swim
Navy, not knowing how to swim?
I mean, if you're jumping in the water, thinking, the sharks aren't a big deal, it's my swimming ability. Yeah. That's what I got to worry about.
I can't swim away from a shark.
There's a problem. Anyhow.
Alright guys, thanks for sliding by and checking out another video. Until next time. Peace.
And hug someone with their permission.
With